Hello knitters, I'm Jana with Purl Together, and in this week's video I am really excited to tell you about a new calculator that I've put on my website. Before we get started with that, I want to give a shout out to several new patrons this month. Thanks so much for supporting the channel and joining me over in the patron-only Facebook group as well as the Patreon page, where sometimes you get little hints of what's to come. We have patron-only knit-alongs. We have patron discounts on upcoming events and classes. So a hearty thank you to Priscilla, Cindy, Teresa, Holly, Shirley, and Mary. Thanks so much. If you want to see what I'm offering for your small monthly pledge, head over to patreon.com/Purl Together and you can see what's going on over there. Okay, let's get into the long tail cast on. There's lots of different ways to do a long tail cast on. People do the thing where you wind the yarn around the needle and then that's your estimate for how long your tail needs to be. You can cast on 10 stitches and then fold that over and fold it over again and again and again, however many stitches you need, and estimate that way. That's totally fine, but it takes time and it's annoying. You can, if you have a cake, you can do your cast on from the inside and the outside, and I have a video showing that, and that's fine. But what if you're not using a cake? Like when I do little minis, I wind it into a ball because the ball winder that I have that makes a cake, the core of it's pretty large. So if I use a 20-gram mini, it just collapses on itself and it's annoying. So I usually just wind those by hand. So I can't use the inside and the outside. I believe I have hit on a solution. I got to thinking a couple weeks ago that there has to be a mathematical way to go about this. There just has to be. So I worked on it and I fussed around with different size needles and different size yarns, and I thought there's got to be a way. So you know how you do your long tail cast on and you wrap the yarn around the needle that you're working with. So that is sort of that's a measurable number. Now, the loop that goes over the top of the needle and then you cinch it tight, that all kind of depends on your gauge and your tension, right? But that's the part that's the tail. But you got to start somewhere. So I thought, well, what if you take the millimeter of the needle that you're working with multiplied by pi, multiplied by the number of stitches you need. Then that will give you a number in millimeters. But then that's easily converted to centimeters and inches. But I realize not everybody wants to do the math. And why don't people know this? So I thought I was all brilliant, right? I thought, ooh, I've hit upon something. So then I Googled. After I tested it and tested it with a couple of patrons, I Googled to see if anybody had done this. And of course, someone has. Someone has it on their blog from like 10 years ago. I don't know. I should have realized I'm not as smart as I thought I was. And really, there's nothing new under the sun. And I should have realized somebody else would have thought of this before me because, right? Anyway, but I'm super happy that even though it wasn't a new idea, I'm still proud of myself for coming up with it. And I should have realized that someone else would have come up with it too, because I'm certainly not the smartest person in the room. So the internet's fantastic. And this is why I am also happy to announce that I have now installed on my website a long tail cast on calculator. Now, I don't know that this exists anywhere else, but you can get it for free, and I'll put the link down below. All you got to do is sign up for my email, give me your email, and I'll send you the link. So the only reason I'm doing that is because I'm trying to build my email list, right? That's part of building an online business, is having people that you connect to, that you can send out your newsletter, which I seem to only do like once a quarter. So I'm not going to spam you, don't worry. But once you get the link to this long tail calculator, I would love to hear what you think. Leave me a comment, send me an email, bookmark it if you want to use it again. Okay, let's check out the calculator. Let me share my screen and I'll show you how it works. Okay, after you input your email, you'll get an email reply from me taking you to this page. So let's say, for example, we're going to start swatching for the upcoming Mahina cardigan knit along. So you'll put in the needle size that you're going to start using. So let's say I'm going to swatch with 6. I would just put in a US size 6 is a 4 millimeter needle size. We want to do this in millimeters, not US sizes. And let's say I'm going to start off by casting on 40 because I want to have a chance to do some of the lace repeats. So, and I want a good section. So if I have a 4 millimeter needle and I have 40 stitches that I'm going to use for my swatch, I'm going to need a 51. I'm rounding up to the next whole number because we don't have portions of centimeters. So I'm going to have a 51 centimeter tail or 20 inches. So let's round up to the next whole number. So 20 inches. And then I want to have my good tail. So I'm going to have from the end of my yarn to where I'm going to do my slip knot to cast on is going to be 28 inches. So I hope that makes sense. So there's 2 things I'm going to tell you about that. If you want to do the math, you certainly can do that. But to make it easier, that's why I did the calculator on my website. So your mileage will vary depending on your tension because everybody's tension's a little different, right? However, I will suggest that before you try this cast on, determine your length of tail that you want to use. So if I have this and I decide, well, I'm going to have like an 8 or 10 inch tail, because you want to have a little to hang on to, right? And you want to have a little bit to weave in later. So I'm going to measure this and say this is 8 inches, roughly. Then I'm going to use the calculator and do the math and then decide what my cast on length is. So for a 72-inch sock, maybe it's this far. It's 72-inch, 72 stitch sock or whatever. So then I'm going to do my slip knot right here. If you don't use a slip knot in your long tail cast on, you're going to do your first little loop right here and then go ahead and cast on. Then when you get to the end, you should still have your 8-inch tail and you can measure that and let me know if it works for you. So I've tested this several times myself. Shout out to Lori, one of my patrons who has tirelessly tested and retested this for me, as well as testing and retesting the website page that I'll send you. Anyway, I would love to hear your experience with it. To me, it's life-changing to just be able to plug in the numbers and be like, bam. And then, you're not left with too little of a tail or like a mile long that you have to like do the little butterfly and tie it up somehow or cut it off. And that's a waste of yarn. So I'm so excited to offer this to you. Okay. All right. Happy knitting, people. Spring has sprung. And in Wyoming, that just means bigger, wetter snowflakes. But one day it snows, the next day it's 50 degrees. So we'll get there, but the rest of you are enjoying lovely weather. People are posting pictures of flowers coming up, and I saw my first dandelion. So that was cool. Okay, happy knitting. I'm excited to hear what you think about my new long tail cast on calculator.